My name is Iris Hadley, and I'm 29 years old. I come from a family where names are legacies, trust funds are weapons, and reputation means more than truth. My father, William Hadley, built an empire in private finance. My mother, Celia, inherited hers. My older brother was the heir. I was the quiet one, the engineer, the analyst, the anomaly who coded algorithms instead of smiling at galas. At every family gathering, I could feel the unspoken question floating in their eyes. What is she even doing here? I stopped trying to answer years ago. I chose silence, distance, independence. But they chose something else. Something colder. 3 days ago, I returned home to find the front gate chained, my name erased from the deed, and a bankruptcy petition filed in my name, one I never signed. And that's when I realized they weren't just cutting me out, they were preparing to bury me. The lockbox on the gate was digital. I punched in the override code, my code, and it chirped once, then buzzed red. Denied. I stood there, suitcase in hand, blazer wrinkled from a red-eye flight, staring at the family house I'd grown up in. My family wasn't inside. Realtors were. Through the tall glass windows, I could see them. 2 women in blazers, iPads out, speaking in curated, polished tones. A couple stood in the foyer looking around, laughing. A sold sign leaned against the base of the porch column. I didn't knock. I kicked the door. One of the realtors jumped, turned, her eyes narrowing. Miss, can I help you? This is my house. She paused. I'm sorry, but it's already sold. I finished for her. Yeah, I gathered that. Show me the paperwork. I don't think. Now. She handed me a folder with nervous fingers. I flipped through the closing docs, skimming past the disclosures until I found the signature page. My name. My damn name. And below it, a signature that looked enough like mine to fool most. But not me. This is a felony, I whispered. Forgery. Fraud. I never signed this. The air inside the house felt colder than it should have. The realtor swallowed hard, reaching for her phone. I wouldn't, I said, and turned on my heel. Back in the car, I didn't start the engine. My hands were shaking. I forced myself to take one deep breath. Then I called Elliot. He picked up on the second ring. Iris. It's gone, I said. The house. Sold. And there's a signature on the deed with my name on it. Silence. Then, you didn't authorize that? You think I'd let them sell the last thing tying me to that trust? Jesus. A pause. There's more. I waited. A bankruptcy petition was filed in your name last week. Southern District Court. I got a notification because your name's still attached to the revocable trust substructure. And Iris, your signature's on that too. I closed my eyes. 1 second passed. 2. Sell the condo, I said. Excuse me. Sell the apartment. Liquidate the Hadley subtrust. Move everything to the contingency account. Wait. You have 12 hours, Elliot. After that, I'm not just fighting a bankruptcy case. I'm going to war. A breathless silence. Elliot broke it. Consider it done. I ended the call. Everything in my chest was pressure. My lungs were full of air I couldn't exhale. I turned on the ignition. Then I caught it, movement. Across the street, tucked just behind a black SUV, the shimmer of a phone lens catching sunlight. Too fast to be coincidence. Too slow to be accidental. I turned the wheel and peeled away from the curb. My pulse was drumming in my ears. 12 hours. That's all I have to save what's left of my life. The clerk at Southern District looked bored. He didn't blink when I slammed the packet down. I need every document tied to this, I said, voice low, clipped. Petition 8, CV 3829. Filed under my name. Click, clack, keyboard tapping. A long beat passed. His screen lit up. Then his expression changed. You're Iris Hadley? I am. He cleared his throat. You'll need to speak with the court officer directly. Conference room 2. Cut scene. A steel-framed room. Fluorescent buzz. A stack of papers already laid out on the table. Someone knew I was coming. I sat, leafed through, and froze. Who the hell? I whispered. The petition declared that I owed $2.3 million to the Hadley Family Trust, that I had defaulted, that I had no assets remaining. And there it was. Page 6. My signature. Not just similar. Identical. Not forged with a shaky hand. Forged with knowledge. It matched my loop, my slant, even the slight break in my capital H. But I never signed this. I never saw this. I looked closer. Metadata tag, bottom corner. Created, May 29th. 5 days ago. Modified, 2 hours later. Software, Adobe Acrobat Pro. IP address logged. I snapped a photo with my phone. Sent it to Elliot. He called 30 seconds later. They used the old template, he said, voice sharp. The one you stored on the shared firm drive. That was password locked. It was, he agreed. Which means whoever did this had access. Or a key. Someone from inside. Or someone who used to be inside. I gripped the edge of the table. In chess, I murmured. You never worry about the pawn charging you. You worry about the rook waiting in silence. Cut scene. Outside the courthouse. The sun stabbed through gray clouds like a blade. A light drizzle started. I didn't flinch. I drove to the old condo. Not mine anymore. Not since I gave Elliot the go-ahead. It was cold, hollow. The kind of place that remembers things after you've left them. I unlocked the fireproof box under the floorboard. Ripped out the contents. Old financials, emails, real bank statements. Everything to counter what they'd just filed. Half the documents were gone. The receipts from the 2017 transfer? Missing. The audit letter from Fidelity? Vanished. Only one page left behind. A check copy with my name, but the payee space was blank. A warning. A message. I stood in the center of the empty living room. No furniture. Just silence. Then, footsteps. Soft. Measured. Someone on the floor above. No, wait. Right outside the door. I didn't move. I slid my phone into my pocket, flipped on video mode. Walked slow to the peephole. No one. But the hallway light flicked once. Then again. I've always believed danger comes dressed in silence, not noise. It's the whisper that kills, not the scream. Cut scene. Back in the car. Elliot was waiting on the line. I ran the IP from the modified PDF, he said. Guess where it came from? I didn't answer. Scarsdale. A private network. Rerouted through a VPN, but still leaves a trace. You know anyone with ties to Scarsdale? My mouth went dry. My brother used to live there. For years. Henry, I said. But he moved. 2 years ago. Then someone's using his old access, Elliot said. Or his old device. I parked. Still inside the car, still gripping the wheel. They're not just erasing me, Elliot, I said. They're creating a version of me they can control. He was quiet. Then, and we haven't even seen the worst of it. I glanced in the rear view. A black Chrysler pulled into the lot, parked 2 rows behind. Windows tinted. Engine running. This isn't about debt. This is an execution disguised as a court filing. The Chrysler was still there. Engine idle. Tinted windows. No plates. I didn't stop. I drove right past it, heart pounding, watching the rear view. No movement. No chase. Yet, some people follow you with headlights. Others with silence. I parked 5 blocks away, double-checked the lock, and walked the rest under street lamps that flickered like dime stars. Every time I heard a heel echo behind me, I turned. Nothing. Just the sound of my own fear. Elliot was waiting in the diner booth. Hood up, phone face down, a cup of black coffee untouched. Any news? I slid in. He nodded. Not good. Your financial vault, he said. It's been accessed. My chest tightened. That's impossible. It's a multi-layered key pair system. Biometric failsafe. IP restrictions. Still, he said, someone breached it this morning. Your entire archive deleted. I couldn't breathe. I'd built that vault myself. Triple encryption. Zero cloud tethering. Everything private, analog synced, off-grid. Contracts. Signed statements. Licensing. The original prenup. Gone, I said. Not just gone. He slid his phone toward me. On screen, an activity log. Timestamps, file names. All ending in deleted. Final access. Jason.K, 7:41 a.m. I stared. Jason Kane. The only man I'd ever trusted with that level of access. The man who once said, "Privacy isn't protection, it's the illusion of safety." He'd walked out of my life 2 years ago, after I said no to merging finances, no to marriage, no to being absorbed. And now he was back. Cut scene. The door of the diner swung open. 2 men in long coats stepped in. Not looking at us, but not looking either. Elliot clocked at 2. Time to move, he said. We left cash. Slipped out the back. Cold air bit my skin as we ducked into the alley. Breath fogging in sharp gasps. We didn't speak again until we reached his car. What was Jason doing with my credentials? I asked. I dug, he said, after you mentioned him. He left his last firm under sealed terms. A whistleblower claim surfaced, then vanished. No records in the public SEC filings, but I found an internal memo. He handed me a printout. The paper shook. Jason had been working with a group of private contractors, legal hackers, off-book, corporate sabotage for hire. Not just revenge. Not just my data. A campaign. A system. Someone paid him, I said, to become me. Cut scene. We drove straight to my old office building, high-rise downtown, security pass entry. I still had Tier 3 clearance. That meant access to the cold servers. 30 minutes, Elliot said. You ghost after that. We used the loading dock. Elevator to B2. Sublevel quiet, lit with red LEDs and fan noise. We passed racks of dormant servers until we reached Vault 7. My handprint still worked. The door unlatched with a hiss. I entered first. Inside, a single console. Monitor off. I flicked it on. The fan spun up with a low hum. Then a blink. 1 video file on the desktop. Dated yesterday. No label. I clicked play. It was grainy. Security cam angle. A conference room I didn't recognize. Low light. 3 people. My father, Jason Kane, and a third figure, face blurred. Deliberately. Jason was speaking. She'll resist. But it won't matter. Once she's discredited, we file the conversion documents. The shell company takes over. Legally. Clean. My father said nothing. Just nodded. Then he looked up, straight into the camera, as if he knew. Cut scene. I backed away from the console, bell rising in my throat. It wasn't just about inheritance, or money, or control. It was identity theft. On a federal level. Iris, Elliot said. We need to go. I grabbed the external drive from the station, yanked the cable. Lights dimmed. As we stepped back into the hallway, emergency lights flickered. Someone triggered a silent alarm, he muttered. We ran. Behind us, a door creaked open. Footsteps. Gunmetal black boots. Faster. We hit the stairwell. Up 2 flights. Exit sign overhead glowing red. The door slammed behind us just as sirens howled outside. Not police. Private security. No logos. No names. Just helmets. They didn't say a word. Elliot gripped my hand and whispered, Run. We bolted into the night. They didn't just betray me. They armed the man I should have feared most. We didn't go back to Elliot's place. That was the first rule. If you're being hunted, never return to anything that knows your name. Instead, we ducked into the side entrance of the AMC building on 5th, my old consulting firm. I still had access. The night janitor didn't even look up. Elliot followed, 2 steps behind, breath tight. "Tell me we're not just guessing," he whispered. "We're not. I need access to Nolan's archive." "Your old boss." "He's not just a boss," I said. "He's the reason I ever had access to the Hadley financial architecture." The office was dark. Glass everywhere. Reflections like shadows with secrets. I passed the frosted doors, risk analysis, portfolio oversight, forensic accounting. Then, Nolan Gilbride, partner. The office was locked. I slipped a card from my back pocket, tapped the reader. The door beeped once. Open. Inside, leather. Wood. 2 whiskey glasses, half-washed in the sink. A faint smell of clove. I headed straight to the desk, pulled the bottom drawer. Nothing. Then Elliot opened the closet. He stared. Iris. I turned. Inside the closet wasn't a coat. It was a server. Small. Silent. Cooled with its own ventilation. "No one logs private hardware in this building," I said slowly. "That's policy. That's his policy." I reached in, pulled the HDMI and ran it to his monitor. Screen flickered. A dashboard loaded, black and green UI. Minimal. Government-grade interface. I scrolled. There were dozens of files. Hadley. Iris. Project Vane. Kane. And one file labeled replicant. I opened it. A screen full of metadata. My name. Social. License number. Digital signature chains. They'd built a version of me, not just to file false bankruptcy, but to apply for licenses, verify accounts, redirect legal claims. "They cloned your digital identity," Elliot breathed, "with government pass-throughs. This isn't just fraud." "No," I whispered. "It's espionage." Cut scene. A sound outside. Elevator ding. We froze. A door opened. Closed. Slow footsteps down the hallway. I pulled the HDMI. Wiped the screen. Elliot shut the closet. We backed into the shadows. The steps stopped. Outside the glass wall, I saw a silhouette. Tall. Wearing a long coat. It was Nolan. He didn't knock. Just entered, calm like he knew. "I wondered when you'd come," he said. "Iris." "Elliot." He didn't sound surprised. "I trusted you," I said, voice flat. "You did," he agreed. "And look where that got you." He walked behind the desk. "Saturday. Do you know what it's like," he said, "watching brilliance rot in isolation? You could have owned this company. You could have run the trust. But you left it all for principle." He leaned in. "And you thought they'd let you?" I said nothing. "You're not the victim here, Iris. You're the trigger." I saw the replicant file. His jaw twitched. "You've committed felonies on federal infrastructure." He didn't blink. "So did you. Remember 2019? The misrouted payment into AMC's shadow ledger." My breath caught. "That was an internal correction. That's not how it looks on paper. You're bluffing. You're drowning." Cut scene. Elliot stepped forward. "What's the endgame here?" Nolan's smile faded. "We file the final conversion. Iris becomes the scapegoat. Bankruptcy clears the trust for absorption. Jason Kane runs the holding. We win. Quietly." "Why Jason?" "He was never your enemy. Just the knife someone else was willing to hold." Outside, headlights flared. Nolan glanced out the window. "They're here." "Who?" "The legal team. And asset security. Once you walk out that door, you belong to them." "I'm not walking anywhere," I said. I pulled the flash drive from my coat pocket, tossed it onto his desk. Nolan froze. "What is that?" "Everything," I said. "The video, the signatures, the IP logs, the whistleblower files." He didn't move. I smiled coldly. "And there's a copy in 3 places. One of them already sent to a contact in the DOJ, one to a journalist in Atlanta. His calm cracked. You made yourself the hunter, Nolan. But you forgot. People who live in mirrors always break first. We turned, left the room. The elevator opened before we called it. Inside, Jason came, smiling. You didn't run fast enough, he said. Jason didn't block the exit. He just smiled, like a man watching a fire burn a house he never loved. We're past the phase where you pretend innocence, he said. You're the one who doesn't understand scale. Elliot stepped forward. Move. Jason didn't. You're both standing in a building owned by the people you're threatening. Every hallway has a camera. Every camera has retention. When this goes to court, they'll show you trespassed into a partner's office and tampered with evidence. My jaw tightened. We didn't tamper. We downloaded. Same thing, he said. On paper, intent is the story. We didn't argue. We ran. Cut scene. We escaped through the loading dock, sprinting into the rain-smeared alley, headlights sweeping behind us. Elliot's car was 3 blocks away. We made it into the back seat, lungs burning. Now what? He asked. Now, I said, we flipped the game. By midnight, we were inside a motel on Route 22, 2 floors, buzzing neon anonymous. A room paid in cash, curtains drawn. Elliot paced. You can't just hold evidence, he said. If security claims chain of custody violations, digital proof becomes useless. I know. You have to introduce it legally. Which is why, I said, we need a controlled confrontation. He froze. That's suicidal. No, it's strategic. A meeting with who? My father and Jason. Together. You want both of them in one room. I want them to think I'm surrendering. Elliot stared at me like I'd stepped into fire willingly. People reveal their greed when they think they've already won, I said. Fear makes liars. Victory makes truth-tellers. The room has to be controlled, he said. Wired, recorded, and the chain of custody must be valid. Exactly. He rubbed his forehead. You don't need a lawyer anymore. You need a forensic investigator. A voice from behind us, already here. We spun. A woman leaned in the doorway, cropped jacket, dark jeans, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Her presence was deliberate, like she knew every exit before walking in. Sasha Levin, she said, former IRS forensic intelligence. Elliot called me. I blinked. You followed us. No, I followed them following you. You too are terrible at counter-surveillance. She threw a duffel bag on the bed. Inside, 2 encrypted phones, portable signal scramblers, a mini DVR no larger than a pack of gum. Someone in your circle is laundering identity assets through Delaware and Puerto Rico, she said. Not normal fraud. Industrial unlawful acquisition. If the DOJ sees this, it escalates to interstate racketeering. Elliot exhaled. Exactly. Sasha nodded toward me. Iris, you don't fight a conspiracy from the outside. You trap it from the inside. Her tone was flat, not poetic, but it hit like a creed. If you want truth, force liars into one room and make them believe they're safe. She opened her laptop, fingers moving. We need a staging area. Not public. And not motel grade. There's one place, I said. Hadley Executive Center. 2nd floor boardroom. My father uses it for arbitration. Neutral space. Private. Silent locks. And you still have access? I do. She smiled. Perfect. Cut scene. At 10 a.m., I send a short text to my father. I concede. We need to discuss settlement. Bring Jason. No attorneys. I'll sign the transfer today. No reply for 6 minutes. Then, 11 a.m., East Boardroom. If you break terms, we walk. Elliot stared at the message. He believes it. Of course he does, I said. People see surrender when they want to see it. Sasha wired me with a microtransceiver near my collarbone. This captures 90 minutes, she said. Chain of custody automatically timestamps. If he admits intent, we're gold. And Jason? Elliot asked. He'll be worse, Sasha said. People who weaponize identity rarely think they'll end up in front of a jury. She leaned close to me, lowering her voice. There's a saying in counterintelligence, the cleanest confession is spoken inside a victory lap. Cut scene. We entered Hadley Executive Center through the service elevator. Carpets spotless, walls iced white. Everything smelled like expensive silence. East Boardroom was glass on one side, matte black on the other, with a 12-foot conference table polished to a mirror. The room was empty. Elliot positioned a digital relay panel under the table, connecting it to the building's legal Wi-Fi node so all recordings would timestamp through a federal compliant hash. Sasha placed a hidden camera inside a recessed light fixture. Then she looked at me. You ready? Fear is irrelevant, I said. Consequence is the only compass. She nodded once. We stepped out. 3 minutes later, my father arrived. Not angry, not hostile, serene. Jason followed, carrying a slim briefcase. No laptop, just a transfer folder. My father sat. Jason sat beside him. I sat across. Jason spoke first. We appreciate that you finally see this as necessary. I kept my eyes flat. You win. My father inhaled slowly. Smart decision. Jason slid the folder toward me. Once you sign the asset conversion, the bankruptcy becomes formal. No more conflict. I opened the folder. Every page was perfectly legal. If I had actually owed them millions, if I were insolvent, if the trust required liquidation. My father tapped page 5. Just initials there. Then signature. I looked at him. You really think inheritance is worth war? You were never built for this war, he said softly. We're protecting the structure, not punishing you. His voice was almost kind. Jason added survival is math. Sentiment doesn't belong on a balance sheet. I let my shoulders fall, surrendering defeated, because performance is also strategy. Then I whispered, why didn't you just ask me to sign willingly? Silence. Jason answered before my father did. Because if you were willing, we wouldn't need you. I froze. That was it. Intent. Sasha's voice whispered into my ear through the microtransceiver. We got it. Say nothing. Keep them talking. My father leaned forward, tone casual. Identity is leverage, Iris. Control identity, control the person. And if the person refuses... Jason finished for him, smiling. Erase them legally. The government never notices. The camera captured every word. Cut scene. Then footsteps. Fuss. Outside the boardroom door. Elliot's voice cracked through the mic. Iris! Someone else just entered the building. Not security. Armed. My father stood. Jason reached for his briefcase. The air shifted, cold enough to burn. I looked at Sasha's empty chair near the corridor. She wasn't gone. She was repositioning. Then the boardroom door slammed open. 2 men burst in. One tackled Elliot in the hallway. I heard the impact and the gasp. Papers flew. The audio feed shook. Chairs scraped. Jason grabbed my arm. I wrenched away. He hissed, "You should have run." And in that moment, I understood. If they couldn't silence me legally, they would silence me physically. The storm hit when we reached the parking garage. Rain hammered the windshield. Headlights cut through water like knives. Hold the drive, I told Elliot, and stay low. We ducked under the overhang of a maintenance bay. Shadows swallowed us. Elliot's hands shook as he locked the engine. They'll be on us in minutes. I nodded. I had no doubt. Outside, sirens screamed. Red and blue. echoing off concrete walls. The armed men had called in a private response, but so had we. FBI, IRS, SEC, Internal Affairs, investigative journalism. Sasha had lit the signal. Cut scene. For white SUVs rolled in, lights flashing. Agents spilled out. Guns raised. Orders yelled. Chaos. The men who attacked us been caught entering the building through a back door. Now they were bound, cuffed, shouting for lawyers. Their faces masked but voices raw. Jason Kane froze when the first SUV pulled up. He turned pale, like someone finally realized the suit he'd built was on fire. He ran, tried the stairs, slipped. Agents poured around him. A flash. Metallic snap. He spun. They tackled him hard. Cinematic moment. Slow motion. Jason's eyes wide, mouth open. Concrete, dust, drifting in the glow of red rooftop lights. Then a knee to the shoulder. His body flattened. Camera cut. Elliot exhaled like he'd held his breath for hours. I touched the leather bag in the seat beside me, the one holding the verified file. The video. The logs. The offshore accounts. The backup data. Everything. You did it, Elliot said. Voice cracked. No, I said softly. We did it. In the interrogation room, under harsh, fluorescent glare, my father sat across from me. Cell phone video played on a screen. His voice echoed. Erase them legally if the person refuses. He placed his face in his hands. The room smelled like sweat and cheap coffee. Behind him, his lawyer, shaking, notepad open, promises crossing out. Celia Hadley's attorney entered. She refused to look at me. Her lips were tight, cold, regret empty. Outside the room, reporters gathered. Flashbulbs popped, a storm of white lights. I walked past without flinching. Every step felt like iron. 3 months later, courthouse steps, a podium for press, a handful of chairs, the suits of agents around the perimeter. I stood alone at the center. The breeze folded up loose papers, scattered them at my feet. Rain threatened on the horizon. I spoke, voice steady. It's easy to believe blood decides loyalty. Easy to think a surname guarantees honor. But power reveals true colors. Pause. I lost a home. I lost trust. I lost sleep. But I gained clarity. I learned family is not defined by DNA. It's defined by truth. Quiet then. A soft nod from the FBI lead agent. Cameras off. Phones down. In that silence, I felt something heavy lift off my shoulders. Weeks later, I entered the lobby of a modest building in Washington, D.C. Not marble, not gold, just glass, light, plain carpeting. A sign above the reception read, Hadley Survivors Fund. I looked down at the file folder in my hand. Documents, bank accounts, charity filings. The fund would help victims of identity theft. Innocent families ruined by forged signatures, false debts, betrayal. I paused at the door. My reflection in the glass looked tired, but alive. I thought of a line once whispered to me in a darker hour. Some truths are forged under pressure, but diamonds still break free in the light. I smiled. I pushed the door open. Light flooded in. I stepped inside. They tried to bankrupt me, but now I own everything they built.